Welcome to my daily practice at Wendy Code Art. If you find this video interesting or helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel and liking the video.
Hi, my name is Wendy and I'm an artist. I've been an artist my whole life and I am excited to invite you into my studio and show you my art practice. I paint every day. For me, art is about problem solving, so there's always little tricks and tools that I can share with you along the way. Welcome to my studio. Today, I am going to be working on the tables. I set up some new sheets of paper, and I want to get started with more of the stenciling. So, just put this is my vision board. That's right. I got plans. So moving these to the side. For the moment, I have the warm colors in one and the cool colors in the other, and I've spread out my stencils on this side. I just noticed I am missing one of my stencils, and it could be anywhere, you know, if they fall out of place or if they just get rearranged somehow, then they're gone. And the other thing, I was all ready with a pencil. Which I can no longer find. But I'm going to try a few drawing techniques. Meaning, I'm just going to get a pencil and do some outlining. Got my pencils. Okay, now, for the most part, I have been, using the squeegee, and it's great. I love it. I've been working with the goddesses. Look at that. That's my stencil. Look how beautiful that's looking. It's my little goddess stencil right there. And I use a variety of stencils, and I thought, well, stencils are outlines, so I'm just actually going to put some of the outlines. Why not? Or inlines. And then, stencil around. It's just going to add another layer of imagery, which I love. So I have the negative shapes and the positive shapes. Well, I thought I had the positive shapes, but I can't find the positive shapes. Here's a positive shape. Doesn't really matter. And it doesn't have to be pencil. I think there's a little bit, now that we're in the 21st century, and I'm just playing with this. Like that. There's all this concern about materials. And materials are, of course, good. They're important. And I do agree with that, the kind of the archival idea of, using good materials that are going to last like 1,000 years because, I don't know why, because we're not going to be around in 1,000 years. Us personally, well, I don't know. I'm not even sure that the planet will be around in 1,000 years, quite frankly, the way we're going. But that's not an art conversation for today. Look at this little silhouette. goddess. I'm loving that. So I am just going to observe if I do the stencil on the inside like this, it's going to be smaller than the original. And if I do it on the outside, like the goddess next to this, it'll be larger because of where the pen or the pencil can go. Look at that. Really perks things up, doesn't it? Well, I'm not going to leave it at that. And I'm not even sure that I want, I want the whole thing to be either pencil or marker. You could certainly do one side as pencil and one side as marker, or somewhere in between intermittently. Pencil, marker, pencil, marker. I'm going to do this one side, one side. I don't know why, but I'm positioning these a little bit lopsided today. Some days are like that. So this is an inside stencil, so it's going to be, this goddess is going to be a little thinner than she is in real life. Yeah. And I like the outside. This one is my thinker. Got 1 foot and 2 feet. And often what happens when I do the stencil is that it bleeds in and out one side or the other side. And so, just kind of a demarcation, or just an indication of where they are. Oh, look at this. This one's going to be sitting on top of the abstract shape, kind of rectangular shape there. I like it. I like it a lot. Here's my goddess of the city with the city wall on her head. Look at that. I'm doing mostly the outside, and I'm kind of following the stencil. And stencils are for precision, I guess. They let you know where things are. But as I'm doing this now, I'm thinking, why follow a stencil? I mean, why follow it? Like, it's really just a map, like Google Maps. You're not actually at the location. It's just a map showing you how to get there. Giving you the coordinates. So the stencils are really just giving you the coordinates, and then you can take a different street. You can kind of veer to one way or the other, without falling off a cliff. It's interesting, I do think about things like, so I'm just going to go use it generally here. So it's a shape, really. And So when I went to put the shape down, it does make a difference where the shape is. Here, the shape is more in the foreground, but it's below the other shape, the other figure. And both of those have kind of different connotations. Things that are higher seem, are positioned hierarchically higher above, but uh, things that are higher are also in our, just in our eye visual perception, are kind of placed further in the back. I mean, because things on the horizon are higher. Well, no, actually, no, that's not a good example. But things that are further away are sometimes, if they're on plane, they're sometimes placed higher. Ooh, I'm getting into trouble here. I haven't thought this out. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that with the figure down here, it's below this figure. Up here, it's above this figure. Down here, it's closer to us. Up here, it's further away, but then it's shifted because it's the same size. So it would be read as something larger than the one that's down lower, which is closer to the horizon line, or to the bottom here. Okay, that's all design. Those elements. I don't think I did that very well at all, but I'm moving on now because it's not my intention to give a workshop. I'm really inviting you into my studio as I work. So I'm going to get back to work here. So this is Venus de Milo, and she's going to be a skinny gal because I'm working on the inside here. Now I do hope to pretty much obscure all of these lines. I can't find the other piece of this stencil, but I'm going to use this. When I start to do the painting of this with the liquid, then I'm going to want to have the other half of this stencil, the other half of all of the stencils. This is making his feet rather large, rather large. I like his little hat there. Okay. And maybe I'll give, oh, that's the other gal. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know where the rest of my stencils have gone. I will have to dig deep. Oops, that's not the right way around. There's other colors I could use as well, but I'm just experimenting here, so it's the first go around. I mean, I do not like the way it is right now. Well, I do, but I have to get used to it. That's outside. Oh, yes. So I haven't used this for a long time. This is, let me show you. She's such a beautiful goddess. It's a bust of someone. She's so beautiful. She actually goes, I don't even remember which way she goes, but anyways, she's going this way now. And so I get some questions about art and, what I'm doing. And somebody asked, I think a legitimate question about abstract art and its meaning. I mean, what's it for? What does it do? Why? Why even have abstraction? And there's it's always a lot to discuss, because there wasn't abstraction until the early 20th century. Really, there wasn't really a need for it. I mean, every once in a while you'd find something either that was unconsciously non-representational, some more pattern. I mean, pattern is abstraction. Abstraction. But the way we interpret it now is the non-representational. So what's left? Well, it's all of the shapes that you can produce, all of the shapes that eventually you can use to produce representational work, like figures and animals and landscapes and things like that. So if you take the idea that's set in your mind, oh, this is a landscape and that's what I want to paint, then you use all the same tools, basically, colors and lines and shapes, and it's long been understood that all of these elements have the ability to affect us emotionally. So colors, the happy colors are often the warmer colors. Calm colors, often they're more the cooler colors. I mean, that's just a gross generalization, but in general. So at a certain point, I mean, it was a revolution for art that abstraction came into being, and it probably could not have happened any sooner than it did. There had to be an evolution, not just a evolution of mankind, but kind of a cultural evolution and also a philosophical evolution. And that all kind of came to a head, like I said, the early part of the last century, in the teens and the 20s, 1920s, maybe a little bit earlier in the teens. And I mean, the artists, mostly in Europe, Malevich, Kandinsky, Hilma af Klint, the art was a very integral part of the social, parts of the social makeup and the strata, but and also part of the cultural landscape. So kind of, I wasn't there, but if I was to imagine it, I could imagine um, you the artist going, well, what if I just took this away? What if I just didn't do that part and I just kept all of these parts, and what would that be like? I I actually did an essay on this in grad school, and um, around that time was also a very kind of spiritual shifting that usually happens early in the in each century. Well, I don't know. I read that somewhere. I'm not sure that that's true because I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it these days. But anyways, there is something to be said about the theosophical philosophies, Theosophical Society, and the ideas that emotions have shapes. It can be described by shapes, and that's the work of Ledbetter and Besant and uh, who's the Grande Dame. Uh, well, her name has slipped my mind now. Um, but there were seances, and it was a very spiritualist time, and there was a spiritualist movement. And in trying to document emotional, the shapes of emotions, I mean, I don't know who thought of that. Uh, there was just kind of an opening to the possibility that things that are represented don't have to represent the real world, that they can represent the aspects of energy and communication and all these other things, not just a one-to-one visual. We had the camera for quite a while at that point. That was representing things quite nicely. So I think it started there. I mean, you can certainly see. I don't know if there's a moment of like the history of art and then no abstraction, then boom, there's a kind of a distinct line. There was a lot of kind of workings, overlappings, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so getting back to the I guess the present. But there's been a whole evolution over 100 years and more. And so why abstraction? I mean, what is the purpose? What is the point of abstraction? Well, oh yeah, I didn't even bring in, psychology, psychology, and the emotions and the inner workings of our beings. We have a subconscious. I mean, who knew about that? I mean, the Middle Ages didn't, I mean, not literally know or deal with it that way. I'm sure, the ancient Greeks and Romans, of course, had something, had some idea, but not articulated in the way around the same time. And so what I think now of abstract art is the play of all of these elements, the colors, the shapes, the tones, um, just all of the things that we play with as artists, whether it's representational or abstract. And but the abstract part can really not dictate. See, for me, it's really a freedom from the dictates of the visual language that has gone before, or that we are anchored to in our day-to-day as seeing people. I can't speak for the people who don't see, who are blind. So so now we can well, and let me bring in the narrative, because usually when there's representation, there's a plant or an object or a person, and there's more than one thing going on, and those things are in relationship to each other, and that tells a story. It either tells a story kind of directly, like all of the historic paintings of religions and, the nobility, et cetera, et cetera. That that's advertising. That's telling a story pretty directly, or illustrating a story. And that's great. Oh my gosh, the beauty of those images. It's just, and that's what it was meant to do. It was meant to infuse that emotion and that exaltation and all of that good stuff. And I think that early on in abstraction, the artists were thinking, can I create that without the image, without being direct, without showing a person or a tree or, a vista, landscape, mountainscape, riverscape, seascape? And the answer is yes. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But it's not so directive. It's not one-on-one. This is a boat. I see a boat. I know a boat. I know what a boat does. There we go. And there's the sky. I know the sky. I know what the sky does. I know that it rains. I know that there's a boat in the sky. Then there's a whole narrative. There's a whole drama. The sky is clear, so the boat is safe. I mean, it just goes on, and and that and everybody brings their little, filter to those narratives. Well, everybody brings their filters to abstract paintings. And so someone will see something, and it will, instead of elicit a recollection or a connection to a physical object, it will, inspire or connect to or spark kind of patterns or indirect references, because a lot of people do see objects in abstract painting. I love that. I've had people say, I see a lot of animals in your painting. Okay, that's great. I love that. Your paintings are so, they look so happy, so joyous. Yeah, I'm just using those colors that are gonna do that. How do they do that? Well, that's a whole university course. I'm not getting into that. But we do respond. We respond to darker colors differently than we respond to brighter colors. We respond to or lighter colors or richer colors, or and then shapes. The circles. I just started doing those round circles. I mean, what are those? Are they holes? Are they targets? Are they vortices? Are they vortexes? Are they windows? Are they tornadoes, from the inside? I mean, well, yeah, they could be. So everybody comes with how they see, and they can have that kind of a conversation with the work of art. And the work of art will give them some of those tools, and then we bring the other tools, and we have this conversation. And I think that's exciting. I think that's a way to open up the conversation. But I do understand that a lot of people think it closes the conversation, for them at least. And that's okay. Not everything is meant to work for everyone all the time. And it does take some effort and some work to shift your mind to not relying on the exact visual clues, people, animals, trees, landscapes, and to just absorb the energy that's in front of you, basically. Oh, and jagged lines. Jagged lines go back to um, the Theosophists. That was an energy uh, for anger. That was a, a description of a kind of an angry or frustrated energy. So so those conversations can exist within the picture plane as well. You can have some large open shapes, circles, triangles, rectangles, triangles as well with the points. That has a certain thrust and directional pull. Oh gosh, it goes on and on and on. So yeah, it's a language. It is a language. It's a language that you can learn, and I have, but I don't pay attention to the learning part of it. I really just enjoy and try to work with the um, the experiential part of it. But everything has a language. Going to a hardware store, there's a language there. I refer to everything as widgets, but they all have specific names, and you either know the language or you learn the language or you have to do all this kind of gesticulation. So so abstract painting has brought a different language. It's not a different language. I guess a shorthand to an existing language. And that's exciting. That doesn't happen very often in the history of art, the history of mankind, womankind. Those are peak eras, and we're still exploring it. We're still exploring it. And so I guess you could say that I'm an explorer. People who are working abstractly are exploring still to this day. We got to catch up with 10,000 years of representation, right? So we have a ways to go. There's lots of room, and there's an open field ahead to do that kind of work. So that's my explanation of a very narrow explanation, because I can't go on and on and on, and I haven't made it my practice to really intellectualize everything that I paint. It's done very, very quickly. It's done behind the scenes. It's done in my head, unconsciously for the most part. But I did learn the language, and I did learn the tools. But the most important thing to me about being an artist is the willingness to explore, the willingness to take chances, the willingness to make something, build something up, and or allow it to be destroyed in the search for something else. So it's every bit as exciting to me as, I guess, mountain climbing would be to someone else. I'm not excited by that. Or skydiving. Yeah, I'm not excited by that. But I am excited by art. And yeah, I can just go on and on and on. Maybe I will again. But for now, that's it. I've got my little stencils down. I had some, I have a white marker too, but I'll use that if I get into some areas that are much darker. And let me just put this little figure in. And I really intended, before I started to talk so much, to put some work with the squeegees as well. See if I can fit that in. Because I don't want these images to stay the way they are. And I only really have time for, not time, clockwise time, but because I have to wait for the paint to dry, I can only do one or two things, on the surface at a time, and then I just have to wait. It's a waiting game. So somebody wrote and said that it gets a little tedious, and I completely agree. I agree. But is that a bad thing? There's an exploration. I mean, tedious is a relative concept as well. To me, tedious means that there's not all the action. There's a lot of repetition. It's not entertaining. And yeah, that's right. I mean, the real art practice is absolutely not entertaining. And so I have not set out to be entertaining in my practice, because that's not, I mean, that has nothing to do with the art itself. So those are two different things. Entertainment, and yeah, there's definitely a tedium. Is that the word? In a studio practice. Yes, you are doing the same thing over and over and over again. Yay! I mean, that's the meditation. What's meditation? Meditation would be tedious, wouldn't it? Prayer, say prayer is tedious? No, you're really in rapture. So bring on the tedium. Not all day every day. That would be tedious. But but slow down and smell the paint. All right, I probably won't be able to use one of these on all of my panel, one squeegee worth, but let's just see. I want to get some things in the background here as well. So I have that gal, and I have this gal. Same gal, really. Ooh. Okay, that's all for this one. I hesitate to put these down on top of other things, because on top of paper, because then I just had the experience where I glued a couple of these to the other paper, and I had to tear them off. So sometimes I just do one side. I'm going to take that right out to the edge. She around here somewhere? Yes, right here. That's nice. That contrast there. Okay, that's another one. And Well, I've got plenty of those, so I need something like this. Yes, 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 yes. And here, not sure what I'm going to do with these. Oh, that's nice. So the marker is a little bit exposed through the paint. Look at, I don't know if you can see this. This just makes me drool, the pattern on the stencil, which is not going to be used for anything. Here's another one. Look at that. You see the pattern there down the midline? I mean, I am, see, I can't use it. I could use it. I'll just put it down here and see a little bit. Just gives a little variation. Yeah, that didn't work as well as the other one, but that's okay. Now, I'm going to go inside. Kind of clunky. That's okay too. Look at that. And this gal, I think, got some of the overspill, so to speak. Overspill. Now, another inside. I want to do something different for that one in particular. And I think an inside here is in order. All right, we're getting a little worn down there. There's not so much paint on the squeegee that I can access without just it all kind of, I don't know, making a bit of a mess. But there's still paint there. Let's see, I'm going to use it as kind of a background. Or, you know, a ground anyways, not really on the back. All right. Well, that's it. That's it. Thank you for joining me. Got a lot of work to do, but I got a lot of work done and I waxed on about abstract painting. So I do appreciate you sticking around, and I will see you on the next tape. So I'm so happy that you are joining me today, and maybe other days too. I'll take you through my day-to-day as an artist, and I look forward to seeing you on the next tape. Thanks for being here.